Welcome to another episode of the BAM Media Sports Podcast. I am your co-host, BJ.
And I am your co-host, Malcolm Maniac Bugs, also known as Coach Bugs. Another episode here of BAM Media Podcast. Great to get it going. Obviously, we are in, I want to say, week 10 or 11 now with college football currently. Nearing the end of the regular season, and most of the talks are starting to be out there as far as top 12 teams, Heisman favorites, conference title contenders, and also bowl game participants. Is most teams that are going to be participating in bowl games are starting to become bowl eligible around normally these weeks, week 9, 10, 11.
Yep.
It's been a great year of college football, I would say, elaborating on my point further from past episodes talking about the parity in college football. Obviously, we've seen it struck again when you talk about the number 2 team in the country or 3 team in the country taking the loss this past weekend. Also, Miami taking their first loss, actually to a familiar foe, which is Georgia Tech.
Yep.
So just some major headlines around college football right now. What would you say would be your most surprising take from this past weekend?
I would have to go along the lines of Miami taking that L. If you go back and look at that season so far, man, Miami done supposed to drop what three games at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they've been kind of lackadaisical, kind of majority of the year. Cam Ward just been a reason that they've been continuing to kind of be undefeated and not taking any losses, but they done been playing around with fire for majority of the season. And then outside of Miami taking that L, I would say I think Bama made a stamp this weekend. I think they kind of finding themselves at the right time, maybe clicking on both sides of the ball. Finally got a complete game. I think the past 2 games they've been playing some complete football. So I just think now it's about finishing November strong. But yeah, definitely got it. Don't forget UGA taking that L against Ole Miss. That was big. That was big. But
I
yeah,
think I think my most surprising take would definitely be Miami taking their first loss, but it's some more surprising to me that it was to Georgia Tech again, a team who they let beat them last year when they had a pretty successful season.
they lost to them last year too.
Yes, I don't know if you remember. I want to say last year is the year when they lost because of like
Right.
yeah, like giving them the ball back. It was something late that
Some
was
timing.
totally a coaching error. It was
Yeah,
totally a coaching error.
I think it was a play
And
clock error.
yeah, it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Mario Cristobal blamed himself after that loss last year, and to actually lose to Georgia Tech again in Atlanta,
Yeah, yeah.
knowing the recent history with that team was
Mm-hmm.
very surprising to me. Just because I thought Miami has taken that next step as far as solidifying itself as a championship contending program.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I mean, obviously, you look at the success they had in the transfer portal, and obviously recruiting rankings out of high school.
Oh yeah.
You it was a lot of high predictions for me as far as Miami going undefeated, being the ACC champion, and also
Yeah.
getting into the college football playoff. Now, are their goals still in front of them? I still think they are, simply because um, if you look at the rest of the ACC, the even with the new additions in the ACC,
Yeah.
SMU is the only undefeated team in that conference right now. So with them just now losing, I think they still have a great chance to get into the conference championship game and also still punch their ticket into the CFB playoff. So
let me ask you this: what do you think they fall tomorrow?
That's a great question. Just due to the simple fact that the parity in college football has allowed for multiple teams to be able to take losses, 1 or 2 losses, and still be in this conversation of getting into the 12-team playoff. It also has created a unique excitement that I would say that has trickled into every game going down to the last week of the season. Everybody, knows they have to put their best foot forward every Saturday, every Friday, or sometimes they play Thursday midweek games. So everybody knows they have to put their best foot forward, and it just makes everything, so much more gratifying. And also, I would say attractive to not only just, true fans and, former players, but more attractive to, just the normal college football fan or just the normal sports fan that, is attracted to glitz and glam, major storylines and things of that nature that are outside of the game. But, college football is definitely in a great space, in my opinion, just due to this fact alone that we're talking about. The 12-team playoff could very well have anywhere from 3 to 4 2-loss teams.
Definitely.
So that's intriguing in itself.
So you think they still in the top 12 tomorrow, or you think they slip out of 12?
I think Miami's still probably going to be top 12.
Okay.
I don't see them bouncing Miami from where were they, 2, 3?
No. Four. It was 4.
Okay, yeah. I don't see them bouncing Miami from 4 to 14 or 13. True. I still see them being within at least the 12 range.
I got you. So how about them Buffs? Colorado go into Texas Tech this weekend. Get that W. Started off slow, but Shedeur picked it up once he got a chance to get his feet set. The O-line started playing a little bit better. Travis Hunter got time to become Travis Hunter out there on that receiver, and I think they utilized that quick game to get the offense running. And once they utilized that quick game, I think at first they started with all them long developing routes, and Shedeur wasn't having a lot of time back there, and kind of started off kind of how some of their big previous games have started off with him getting rushed, giving up a few sacks because he don't really throw picks. He'll take a sack before he throw the ball away. But big win by the Buffs this week. They got, I think, Oklahoma State. This is not in a particular order, but I think they got Oklahoma State, Utah, and I can't remember who that last team is. Let me see real quick. That last team is Kansas.
I think which is very dangerous game because Kansas just beat Iowa State, which is one of the top teams in the Big 12 conference.
That's true. So they got them 3 games left. I think they should be favorites to win all 3 of them. They can win out. That Big 12 title game against BYU, more than likely. Hey,
and honestly, I would say I could see them winning out and also winning the Big 12 Conference Championship game. I'm a big fan of primetime Deion Sanders. Obviously, with me having a history of playing defensive back, every defensive back position, safety, nickel, and corner. Big fan of primetime, big fan of what he's been able to do as a coach, mentor, and also a mogul because he's a mogul to the sport of football in itself and also to the culture of African Americans and minorities all over the country, being able to shine a light in the way that he has. I think he should also be the coach of the year. I don't want to say favorite. I think he's the coach of the year.
For sure.
Taking that team from 4-8 to what I would believe would be a 10-2 regular season finish and a victory in the Big 12 championship game. Being 11-2 from 4-8, the possibility of being 11-2 from 4-8, it speaks for itself what he's been able to do as far as acquiring the talent that he needs in the trenches, which that's what he was mostly missing.
Yeah.
And it was obviously seen when you talk about the 11 guys he rolled out last year, and now the 11 guys he rolling out this year on both sides of the ball.
Big difference.
You can see the difference, especially in the trenches, as far as size, strength, the athleticism, the ability to be big factors in the game, to be guys that can actually take over games and be foundational standpoints and strengths of an offense or a defense, and their schematic approach.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he does have two different coordinators as well, so I want to give a great shout out to those two guys as well. But the talent, the player personnel, I definitely want to give a major kudos to him on that.
Oh yeah,
I also think that they will not be a team that makes the playoff and it will be a easy game for anybody. I think they definitely are going to be a competitive game, no matter where they fall on that spectrum.
That's a dark horse. That's a dark horse matchup waiting to happen.
Correct. Just because the amount of confidence that is in that building from the top down, the attention to detail, and then you look at his staff. He prides himself on making sure that you understand that his staff is built with a NFL caliber.
Oh yes, sir.
Perspective from every male that is on that staff. They have so many years of experience that he, uses in recruiting. That if you follow his YouTube channel or his son's YouTube channel, he relays that message to the guys daily, letting them know that they have great people around them to be able to provide them what they need as far as going to the next level and just becoming the best player that they can possibly be as individuals.
Yeah. I agree.
So I think they're in a great space. My question is, do you think that what they do in the Big 12, even with them being a 2-loss team as well right now, do you think what they do in the Big 12 is comparable to other conferences? For example, if there were to be, let's just say Bama and Georgia, if they were to finish out 10-2 and finish both their seasons on high notes, do you think those differences in conference competition will play a big part in the committee making their choices on how many teams get in with 2 losses, but also what teams get in?
Yeah, man, you know how college football is. I'm honestly starting to believe it's somewhat politic, kind of like the NFL a little bit. Obviously, I think your blue bloods, your powerhouses, I think those are always going to continue to get first dibs when it comes to any kind of postseason playoff spot. For these smaller teams, man, you really got to win out. You got to be 12-1. You got to be 11-2. You have to be ranked in that top 12. That's your best bet, is to try to be ranked in that top 12 come the end of the regular season. But I do think this year will be the first year that we see some change. I think this year will be the first year where you see 2 to 3, maybe 4 teams slip into that playoff that we would never expect to be in the playoffs, which I think that's going to open up, like we've been talking about the past few episodes with the parity. That's just going to make the parity heighten even more once these smaller schools see that they get the opportunity now to get in here and, hey, I would say get a chance to play for the big game. But yeah, I do think this year we will see a change. Going off of previous years, I don't think we will see that same heavy SEC, heavy Big Ten Playoff ranking. Obviously, it was just 4 teams in the past. But I do think somebody in the SEC will be left out this year. I don't know if it's going to be me personally. I think Georgia beat Tennessee. So I do think that kind of hurt Tennessee a little bit because right now it's Tennessee, Texas, and Texas A&M at the top of the leaderboard in the SEC right now. So all of them got to play each other before the season ends. So whoever on the outside looking in, which is Bama and Georgia, they both still got an equal chance to get in the SEC championship game. So I think for Bama, whoever coming out of the SEC is going to predicate whoever get into that conference championship. Definitely going to be a 2-loss team that get in there. I don't know if it's going to be a two-loss team to win, but definitely know it's going to be a 2-loss team to get in there, and it's going to be a couple 2-loss teams slipping there as well. Because I know Georgia probably would be in. I don't see you kicking them 12. I think they are still a top 12 football team. I still think Alabama is a top 12 football team. Texas is a top 12 football team. Ole Miss is, in my part, I think they are a top 12 football team. Texas A&M may not be top 12, but they close. They itching. Tennessee possibly top 12. I think even though they've won a lot of games, I still don't trust Tennessee right now. So that's why I feel like Georgia will beat them and kind of get them out the way, and they'll kind of cancel each other out. But yeah, to answer your question, I think this is going to be different. I don't think it will be the same as previous years. I think we're going to see a lot of smaller teams finally get that chance to get in that playoff.
And to piggyback on the point you just made, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is actually starting to be what I predicted them to be from the beginning of the season with all of the acquisitions that they made this year.
Yeah.
From the portal that they made in recruiting and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I expected them to have one of the best rosters, especially defensively when you look at them getting Trey Amos, them getting Walt Nolan from Texas A&M, them being able to also add in the guys that they've been developing and preparing for this year as far as them looking back and assessing their roster and trying to find out ways to be better. I think that they're just now starting to actually hit their peak as far as doing the right things schematically on defense in order to get the results that they need, getting the right grouping or personnel grouping pairings in there together. Because when you have all that talent, it's about making sure that you get the right 11 on the field in all different scenarios, and also continuing to keep up with the pace of the game, whether it's a fast-paced game, fastball game that the offense is trying to give you, or being a methodically methodically precise offense and using the huddle and using the time of possession in order to be a strength of theirs. So I think they've done a good job from this year to last year.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this real quick. So kind of going off what you just said, what do you think is the missing piece that Ole Miss needs to be the top SEC team? Every year, Lane is always a dark horse for finishing top 2, top 3, but they never pick him to win. They always just pick him to compete with the top of the league, but they never expect him to beat the top of the league. Georgia was his first big win since being at Ole Miss these past 5-6 years, if I'm not mistaken. What is their missing piece? Is it the model and how they build their team? Lane has always been outspoken about being a high transfer portal guy. Not so big on high school recruiting. He hasn't said that. Is that the reason you think they can't sustain I guess the wins against those big teams? They win in 10 games a year, so I can't say they ain't winning. but to really get over the hump and get in these SEC championship games to possibly get a playoff spot, what you think that missing piece is to the puzzle?
Well, honestly, I think he's corrected it already. Now he's just in the parity of college football with the new day and age with the 12-team playoff, the NIL, the transfer portal. But he said after the game, which was, kind of, I would say coincidental to me because to add to my point, he said after we took that 35-point loss last year to Georgia, we said we have to recruit better, we have to develop better, and we have to assess our roster in order for it to be comparable or better than this roster. Comparable or better than these champions that we faced in the past years. So him understanding that he had to change his mentality in recruiting, but also change his mentality as far as understanding the value he has to have for the other side of the ball. I think that's what his biggest hurdle as far as being offensive mind and then taking the reins as a head coach. But once you take the reins as a head coach, you have to fill out that spot in that space in order for you to recognize the value of each phase of the facet of the game and how it's going to ultimately help you win when one other phase is lacking. Do you have a strength in this phase? Do you have the innate ability to corral group a team and be able to get them to be able to have unity and strength of purpose in order for them to achieve the goals that you have set at the beginning of the year. So I think that was Lane's. I think that was his coming out party and saying, "All right, I'm a head coach, traditional head coach. I know I'm a great offensive mind, but I have to make sure that I put my whole team in place in order to be successful." So I think him figuring out that hurdle, and we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it done in recent years. When you think about, like you talking about Tennessee, the only reason Tennessee is even in this conversation is because Josh Heupel said last year, I have to recruit better defensively. I have to tool myself better defensively. I can't just be a flashy offensive program like banging on the backs of myself, being a great offensive mind. I have to understand that in order to win in the SEC, I have to have all three phases and I have to be competitive. And I would say a foundational piece on the other side of the ball, not just offensively. So I think seeing Lane do that was, refreshing to me because I'm always, be biased to the Saban descendants. but the thing is, for him to see it, realize it, and acknowledge it. Now everybody knows now. So all the competition that he's facing from years to come will know that he's tooling his whole team. It won't just be about how many points he can score. So
I got you.
I think that was the biggest thing, man. But for me saying that, thinking about that, talking about how good he's been in years past offensively, and for him to take that next step to be a competitive team every year, you have to be consistent on defense. So now we're not just saying, and this is me answering your question, now we're not just saying that they're going to be a 10-win team every year because of how potent he is offensively and the amount of guys he can recruit through the transfer portal, but the amount of guys you'll be able to recruit and keep from high school and develop will contribute to that. And now, can you do this consistently every year? That will contribute to you being a national championship contender. Because yes, you want to be an SEC champion contender, but he's never put himself in place to do both. So of course you got to take one step before taking another. So you got to be consistent with this every year.
Oh yeah.
And that takes us to our next topic, which I want to ask, what do you think was the key to Alabama's blowout win in Death Valley LSU this past weekend?
Rain. The rain. I think the rain opened up the offense for us running the football. I think we just needed to kind of, piggyback off of that Missouri win. We ran the ball against Missouri. We were able to average 5 to 6 yards a carry. Defense get the shutout against Missouri. So I think, that kind of just trickled over into the bye week. Them boys was ready to get back out there and eager to play. And they know what time it is. They know, honestly, this is do or die. Every Saturday, do or die from here on out. You lose, that's your season. You win, you got a chance to keep playing for it all. So they went in there and had no business Saturday. Defense playing lights out. One monster, Jahad Campbell. They need to go ahead and put him on this big NFL draft prospect board come the off season, getting ready for the draft next year. Because when I tell you that's the best game I have seen him play in the Alabama football jersey on Saturday, Jahad Campbell was a animal out there everywhere. 12 tackles, if I'm not mistaken. Forced fumble, broken up pass. Like the boy was flying, and he had a sack.
Did he have a sack fumble?
Sack fumble, yes, sack fumble. Yeah, and he had a pass deflection in the end zone.
Yeah,
pass deflection in the end zone. So I truly think, man, Jalen Milroe. Whenever we let Jalen Milroe drop back 30 to 40 times in a game, you can chunk that up to an L. That's an L. We cannot let him drop back 40, 50 times in no game. That's not his strength. And granted, we can't do all these same, predictable zone read runs with him. We gotta switch it up a little bit. And I honestly think he made some key throws in that game that were kind of drops. That would have made his stats look a little bit better from a pass percentage wise. All that it did look fine. But I think overall, man, just a good game by Bama. Dominant game by the O-line. I saw that left side of the O-line go crazy, get crazy work Saturday. Caden Proctor and Tyler Booker and Parker Brailsford. Them boys was moving pieces, moving bodies on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we finish out this season. LSU, once again, can't stop a running quarterback. I truly think DeBoer schematically schemed the heck out of that game, man. I truly think he knew and paid attention to Marcel Reed. He paid attention to Lenore Sellers when they played LSU early in the year. Both of them guys had over 70 yards rushing. Lenore Sellers almost had 100, but he got hurt and they had to bring Robbie Ashford in. So, this was a game for Jay Miller because, last year he went crazy on LSU. So, if anybody, could beat LSU, I had faith in Jay Miller because I knew LSU couldn't stop him last year, and they had a better team last year. So, I knew he was going to have a big day. I'm always afraid of his arm. You know what I'm saying? Is he going to make some turnovers, that he shouldn't make? But since we took the ball and just said, hey, just tuck it and be you tonight, just be you and play Jay Mill football and go win us this game. Hey, I think once he got that notion from the boy, I think he just put his head down and got to it. So yeah, that's I do think this one of the better games he done played this year. Obviously, more so using his legs, but I mean I think that's what Bama got to do to win. And from here on out, if you ask me, we got to utilize them legs.
Well, yeah, I do want to be to make a brief point, just talking about the attitude and the effort in which they play with. Yes, it's a chip on their shoulder, but I think it also is starting to be a trickle down effect of just the mentality of the head coach. I think we're starting to actually see the DeBoer era started to seep in because I think he's a gritty guy. I think he comes from a gritty situation when you talk about being a lower level player, division player in college football, being a lower level coach in college football, and actually winning at a lower level, and then progressing to the Division I level and being a successful head coach. They put his record up. Like the last 4 or 5 years, he's like 44-11, right? So I think we're starting to see the mentality of the type of teams that he's going to have here in the future because of not only the situation that they're in, but also just the familiarity that it is with the system that's starting to set in. I think they also know Jalen Milroe's strength, so you start to see them cater to it more. You didn't just see zone read; you saw lead draw, you saw quarterback draw, you saw Q counter, you saw Q buck sweep. You saw a multitude of runs from them this past weekend, and it played out in their favor with him almost achieving 200 yards rushing.
Yes,
so and having 4 touchdowns, obviously, but the way in which he did it is, I would say, better than the stats. So if you see 185 yards, but the breathtaking ability that he does this with, and the timing of some of the runs that he made, ultimately is draining for a defense to try to continue to stop. I saw somebody say after the game, talking about how Brian Kelly was feeling towards his defensive coordinator, but a lot of people had to remember now this ain't the same defensive coordinator that he had last year. So as far as people pointing the finger and saying, okay, Blake Belger, you should have known that he was going. Now, I mean, if you think about it, people attack you based on what you do this year. So if Blake Baker was a good play caller at Missouri last year, and then he comes to LSU, which is supposed to be better talent, and he calls it this year, the stats aren't going to be the same because different scenario, different people, and obviously the years of experience is starting to matter. When you get down to the later parts of the season. I mean, it obviously matters in the beginning of the season, but definitely when you get down to the later part of the season, because of the injuries that start to pile up, in which people always have talked about the importance of depth when it comes to the new college football playoff format. So
definitely,
I think that that Jalen Milroe is just a problem, especially when you can make the game easier for him. Like you said, limiting the amount of drop back passes. If I do have to throw the ball and win the game, ensuring that I'm doing enough quick game to make it easier for him and also to start him off in rhythm. So when you think about the Georgia game, we started off quicks in order to get the ball down the field. You always start a quarterback out, especially one that is, I would say, sometimes challenged when it comes to intermediate passing game. You want to start him out with the easy quicks in order to get him in rhythm, in order to set himself up to be more successful when it comes down to making harder throws later on in the game. So Bama is starting to definitely click, find that peak, in which I want to. One point about the defense I want to make. One thing that I said in a previous episode is just talking about how Womack would continue to grind and work and find out which 4 players need to play together on the front. How many different personnel packages will he carry each week? Whether or not he's going to play split safety or his one-eye coverages. I think he's done a great job evolving throughout the whole year. And I also feel like the disguise of how he is showing his pictures has improved game to game. If you remember back when we talked about the UGA win, we talked about how in the second half it looks like we didn't try to, we didn't show any adjustments. We didn't make any adjustments from first half to second half just because of how well we did. And ultimately ended up becoming something that almost lost that game. But I haven't seen that at all throughout the rest of the year, just because of, I would say, his willingness to continue to show different pictures pre and post snap, but also continue to move around his personnel. You said Jahad Campbell had one of his best games in the Alabama jersey. I also think that game he had a greater amount of snaps coming off the edge. I think Kane Womack has done a great job in trying to make sure that he utilizes his guys in their strengths, regardless of what position that may put them at.
Yeah,
because shoot, man, we're starting to see a lot of guys roll in the secondary. So I think it's a tribute to them all just crafting. I've always said that I'm a fan of them. Obviously, I played for them, but the craftiness that you see out of the staff is starting to reveal itself more and more each week.
And they're gonna continue to get even better. Next week gonna be exciting. I want to say we got the Georgia-Tennessee game. I want to say that's game day next week. That's gonna be probably the biggest game, I would say. Next week, and then I think after that you got at least 2 more weeks left, so you're gonna get some good rivalry football coming up in the next couple of weeks, and that Heisman watch gonna keep amping up. But honestly, I think it's gonna be Travis Hunter Ward to lose. I think he got that already kind of locked in right now, as long as he stay healthy though. But yeah, man. Hey, we done made another one.
Exceed. Man, I just want to finish the episode off by giving a special shout out to all of our followers. I want to say like, share, and subscribe to everybody that has tuned in. We appreciate your time, efforts, supporting BAM Media. Stay tuned because we will come with more and more episodes. One topic that I know we haven't talked about, and I kind of been hesitant on talking about it, is recruiting in the current state of high school football, and really just the state of Alabama. But we will elaborate on other states around us as well. But I just been salty because my Wolverines ain't in there, man. We didn't answer the call, man. But
dogs.
we'll elaborate that on further time, man. It's your boy Coach Maniac Malcolm Buggs.
Yeah, and it's another co-host, your boy BJ, and we appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode. We out. Blank, baby.
Peace.